Hello everyone and welcome to episode 88 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. Catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I am your host, GM and Overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian, joined tonight by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
Finally back.
We thought you had died. We thought you had fallen
Nope.
to the Shadowlands.
I just returned from the Shadowlands with news of where the Haruma Castle might lie.
Was this a gag in the last episode?
No, I'm going to stop it right here. Everybody who's ever come back with information about the Haruma Castle has always led to a horrific future. I'm not going after this castle.
Let's just let the goblins have it.
You can take the information.
That information is don't go there.
I thought they found it.
I think they did. They actually found it.
Yeah, they cleared it and purified it.
Did they?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up.
Anything that has the
I'm gonna go
Scorpion Clan champion as not shoujo just doesn't count.
They did retake it at some point.
Goblin application, alliance with... Wow, that had a lot of... this went through a lot of hands. I wanted to say right now, it's like, first it was besieged, then it fell, then there were vows made, then the Nezumi occupied it, then the Goblin occupied it, then there was some Naga, then the castle was taken, then it was sieged again, then it was relieved, then it was rebuilt, then the demons came, then the demons fled, then the Destroyer Wars. This castle cannot catch a break.
Well, it's in the middle of the Shadowlands,
Yeah.
so there you go. I mean,
It's outside of the Kayukami.
it's
Yep.
right fucked.
This feels exactly like the skit in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they kept talking about they built up like the castle in the swamp, and like the first time it sank, and the second time it burned, and then the third time it sank and then burned.
For what and for honoring those damn ancestors, we would have just built a new castle.
Yeah.
Literally, all of that you just listed is in the course of 500 years.
I know, it's
Yeah.
A lot of
ridiculous.
shit for 500
It's
years.
a lot of shit, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We got the Dark Fortune Duelist meta.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
And the rest of the
Ladies,
card mail.
gentlemen.
Yo.
For some reason, I too love surprise mechanics in all caps and red letters in the notes. I copied and
love
pasted
surprise
it.
mechanic.
I don't know where that came
Do
from.
you review your notes before you even come to here?
No, I copy and paste them because it's the same. It's the same thing every week. It's just the intro and the outro
I love surprise.
and the social
Why is
medias.
what is a surprise mechanic in your?
I don't
opening
know.
intro?
I don't remember. What is it?
That's what you
Yeah, man.
call whenever a rules lawyer pulls out that one splat book that nobody knew even existed.
Yes.
Straight to the page for that one clause for the thing that sometimes happens if you hold your breath right. And it's the third
Accordion, according to my book here, Champions of the Divine, in the section 3, chapter 5, it clearly states that I can use
Surprise
rejuvenation
mechanic!
spells.
From now
That's
on
what
at my
you
table,
do.
anytime somebody does that, I'm gonna have like a little like box hanging above the table that I can pull the lever and it'll like have balloons and streamers and say surprise mechanic that goes off.
That is a lot of prep and planning just for hoping
You just-
somebody like.
You need
pops out
one of
a
those
surprise mechanic.
party poppers or the little
Hoping somebody does
noisemakers.
that, let's be honest, it's probably going to be me at the table as the GM, so I'm perfectly well prepared.
Oh my gosh!
Surprise house rules.
So, yeah, right. I'm
You're all
changing the rules.
you all died in one
Yeah,
hit.
not alter them any further.
I've never had a TPK before, and I want one. So here you go.
Rock fall, everybody dies.
I've always wanted to experience what it is like to have a TPK as the GM.
Alright, that was fun. Now let's get back on track.
All right.
No,
Well,
I mean, the GM
it's
says
been a
that.
few
know.
weeks. We've been busy with stuff. Maybe you'll learn about some of that stuff. It's
I know, right?
it's been
Yeah.
a rough
Yeah.
week.
Oh god.
There's a big
What?
reason
Why? Why has it been rough?
because vacation ended. It's
Yeah,
back.
okay.
I feel like I stumbled back into a horrifying nightmare. Like
I'm gonna.
never felt dread like I felt Tuesday morning back at work when they were like, "Well, everything was screwed up while you were gone. Here you go."
I know exactly where you're coming from because all I could like it wasn't what I shouldn't say that because it's not what I was thinking about. But when we were getting to the end of vacation and I was looking at the time, I'm like, this is going by far faster than I would like it to, and I
Yeah,
don't
it
like
flew
that it's
by.
going so fast. There was just a lot. We didn't even go to like that many events, and there was just a lot.
I didn't either, and It really flew by. And now I'm counting down the days till Labor Day. Then after that, it'll be Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And
When is
Christmas.
Labor Day again this year?
It's like,
First week of September. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Something like that. First Monday of September, I believe.
I think that next weekend is when my brother's going. Anyway,
that'll be the first Monday of September will be that'll be quite literally a Monday.
Astute observation.
Monday? You don't say.
I don't say that will be the 2nd of September is what I meant to say, but for some reason.
All right,
I'm like,
Garfield. Calm down,
No.
Garfield. Go back to your racing game.
I'll
It's
have
being
I'm
released
sorry,
on the
John.
Nintendo Switch.
I'm sorry, John.
All right. Who's up first?
Me. I'm up first. Pick me. Put me in, coach. I can do it.
Go for
Tag.
it.
Yeah,
The
you wanna
winning
go first?
touchdown.
Go for
Damn
it.
Damn it. So, what calls it? Came back from Gen Con. If you don't pay attention to the podcast, we were just at Gen Con. Obs and I, Mao and Tats decided to have real lives and do real things with their time.
I want to go spend hundreds of dollars on plastic.
Obs and
That's what
I
I
are
went
terrible.
with.
That's pretty much what it is. Obs and I are terrible with future planning, and we plan on sticking to that way. So we went to Gen Con again.
Mm-hmm.
And we grabbed a few games this year. I didn't grab as many as we used to because I was talking with Lily, and we grabbed too many games. We still have games that we have not played.
You guys still had got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. I saw her pictures.
Yes, we still grabbed a lot, but it was far less than it was. Most of it was mostly just kind of like updates and expansions, games that we actually do play at least, twice a year. So there's that. But I have to say that of all the games we bought, I have never been so enchanted by a game that I never, let alone knew about, let alone thought I was going to be as enchanted by, and that is a game called Bushido. From Gray Fox Games, not Bushido, from GCT Studios, which is a miniature, like, 5v5 or 4v4, like, kind of miniature fighting game. This is actually more of, like, a little card game. Mini deck builder.
Really treading on new territory, huh, for you?
Yes, I know, right? Crazy stuff, but here I am. I went out of my safety box for all of you. So, Bushido, Bushido, as its namesake is going to be, is a game about you being a warrior, glorious honor and all that stuff, and picking up a weapon, making a deck of techniques, and then fighting the opponent with it. However, it's not a high investment game. Your game time is probably going to go around, for beginners, 20 to 30 minutes, and then when you get really into it, I would say it's probably going to cut down to about 20 at most. It is a 2-player game, and the main purpose is that you're essentially creating almost like a very old game whose name I can't remember, but essentially you just create up a character really fast and then you sent them into an arena. It was like made in the 1970s. You'd just create a character, send them to an arena, they'd either die or they'd win, they get a little stronger, and you would just repeat until they either beat all the monsters or they died, and then you would try again. And that was the whole purpose of it. You're kind of doing the same concept here, but it's a little bit more in-depth and involved, and it's obviously a player versus player game because it's 2 players. You're essentially creating a character who is going to be based around 3 different things. He is going to be based around the weapon that you're choosing, the style of combat that you want to play based on stances, and the deck that you're utilizing, which really shouldn't be called a deck. It really should be called a hand, because that's what you're playing with, is a single hand.
My 5-card deck.
Pretty much, that's literally what it is. So the name of the way the game goes is that you're first going to be choosing your cards, and this can be done through a couple of variants, but the basic way is that you essentially take up the deck, you shuffle them up, which are housed of 5 different schools of techniques, and then technically a non-school. And that school is earth, fire, water, wind, and then technically it's not void, but I'm going to call it void because it's essentially a dark flower. So, but it's really just control. It's not actually called. They're not all called the elements for some reason. But it is called control, and it has a dark symbol for it. And then you have non-school techniques, which are just kind of neutral, but they're not. They have some mechanics that work with it, but all the point is that you've got 6 sets right there. You're essentially going to take 4 of the cards from your from the shuffled up set of techniques. You're going to play them out in front, and then you're going to choose somebody who's going to either be the first drafter, which will make the other person the first striker. You essentially just then take turns choosing a card that you want, building up the 5 cards that you hopefully will take, put them in there. From those 5 cards, you then choose your weapon, of which there are 6, all based off of different and old school Japanese style weaponry. You have obviously the katana, classic. You also have the Yari, you have the Odachi, you have the Tetsubo, so on and so forth. You have your general range of weapons in there. You're trying to choose essentially a weapon that you feel is most appropriate for the cards that you picked up, or you can choose the weapon first and then see what your luck gets you. But anyway, the point is that you choose a weapon and those cards with the hand, you try to match them up as best as possible so that you can ultimately make a better hand than your opponent, who has obviously been building up towards making something that you don't know. From there, once that's done, the first striker chooses their stance. That allows the second striker to choose a counter stance that they so feel appropriate. You reveal your weapons, and the game begins. And this is where the meat and potatoes really lies. In the game, you essentially have a little board that you utilize to track everything on you. Your different weapons will make a choice in not only your play style and the focus of the weapons, though they're never truly fully focused in one area. Some weapons do offer a very different play style than one another. You are able to track your health, which in this game isn't like you're not nicked down for damage. It's not like a game of Magic where you're either going to be exploded by fire or you're going to be slowly, knocked away and picked at like a blue or something. You actually take hits, and the game is about trading off and giving. On your turn, you're going to try to do as much damage as you can to the opponent while also reducing the amount of damage that you're taking your opponent from the last round. That's going to be benefited not only by the stance, which supplies a certain type of die to you, but from the card that you play, which will also apply a certain amount of dice for you. The stances are being high, mid, and low, which you can guess if you know a little bit about Japanese swordsmanship. The high stance is a very offensive stance. The mid stance is kind of an offensive defensive stance, and a low stance is a very defensive evasive stance. Certain weapons are going to work better with those than others. Those hits that you take are set up on a track at the top of the board, which deal increasingly large number. You'll go from like 0 to 1 if you take one hit, but on the fourth hit, you've gone from 0, 1, 3, 6 to 4 being 10, and after that, it's just instant death. You can be just instant killed in this game. You're attempting to play these cards down with one another, trying to figure out how your opponent play style is going to be based on both the cards that they picked up and the weapon that they're utilizing. But more importantly, trying to ultimately knock them out of the fight. Different weapons, as I've stated before, have different effects on them. Some will be more defensive focused, making better use of the low stance. Some will be more offensive focused. The game also has what's called armor tokens. Certain weapons will have more armor tokens than other ones. With smaller weapons like the katana or the kusarigama, they're going to have like 2 armor tokens, which you can utilize and spend on your turn to reduce the damage. Whereas weapons like the Tetsubo or the Yari are going to have 4 or 3, respectively, based on the style that they are. I'm in love with this game. There's a lot more mechanics to it. I don't want to really bog down with explaining the game because that's not what it's about. But I'm in absolute love with it. The idea that you're playing with your opponent and essentially trying to create not only a hand of techniques that's going to outplay them, but even utilizing different weapons that can focus around a style of play gives a lot of replayability to this game. I cannot. We played this game, I think, every single night after getting back to the hotel room. I played this game.
Oh, wow.
We got back to. I went back to that booth 2 times because I got it on like the 3rd day. I went back to that booth twice to ask about certain mechanics that we had run into that seemed to counter hit each other, or to get clarification on how certain things interacted with one another. It was that fun to me, and my buddy, he immediately got hooked on it, picked it up. It is great. I cannot. There's enough RNG to it that it's not. I wouldn't say it's truly super skillful to the extent of like Magic or something and whatnot. But that's the nature of a dice game. It's gonna always have a little bit more RNG to it. But there is enough skill in it as well that, depending on how you not only build your deck, but how do you counterpick your opponents, even by stealing cards from them during the first setup of the game. It's when you're trying to figure out, what you're going to do, can make a huge difference.
How involved is the deck building?
The deck building is pretty decently involved. You, depending on the two I'm going to just talk about the normal one because there's the variants of they give you actually in the back of the book to do it. But essentially, when you're laying out those 4 cards, the first drafter gets to pick first. Then on the next set of cards, the first striker gets to pick first as opposed. So the first drafter will pick first 3 times, while the striker will only pick first twice. But the cards that are being laid out in front of you you're trying to essentially build around the weapon that you have or want to utilize. And you're trying to also make sure that you don't essentially supply them with abilities. If your opponent keeps picking up fire element cards, they're likely going to go a very offensive style. You might have the chance to pick up first next and decide, I'm going to take a fire just to deny him. And there's a good reason for it, because there's a mechanic that if you use the same cards of the same school, you can boost it, and that will allow you to roll even more die. So you kind of want to counterpick on that point too. But it also lets you know that because they're building a very offensive deck, they're probably going to be easy to nickel and dime. So if you kind of build a more defensive, maybe not evasive, but defensive deck that can survive out their force of strong hits, you can nickel them, dime them down, even if you're not doing high damage, you'll still win the fight. Or if you don't play well enough, or you pick the wrong cards, or you don't pick the right ones to fix the opponent, that game can end very quickly. I had a game where I picked up the Odachi, played against my buddy, and killed him in one round. That was the end of the game. I got a turn, he got a turn, and then he died. That's how fast the game can be. But that's because he wasn't counterpicking me appropriately. He didn't expect me to take that. He didn't recognize that I might be picking a weapon that's much more offensive focused with it. So I started off high stance and I just murdered him in the first round. And it can make a difference. We actually tested. We kept playing with some of the same weapons for a number of rounds and just tried different builds, and it does have an effect on it. I mean, obviously, you can sometimes get very lucky. There is exploding die in the game when you're on your offensive stance. You can there's the certain die. There's red, gray, and blue. For the base game, there's actually an expansion. I'm not going to get into it, though. The red die are offensive. The gray die are kind of a very defensive, and the blue die are very evasive in nature.
Mm-hmm.
He was not ready for my full-on red onslaught of him, and he couldn't handle it, and he died, and it was just the nature of the beast. But, I mean, obviously it just meant that we got to play another round, which was great. So,
did you end up picking up the expansion as well?
I did pick up the expansion, which does add not only more cards, it adds in 4 more weapons, which are really interesting. And in fact, I've got them right here in front of me.
So you were like instant, like you loved it enough to just keep buying more.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm a sucker for this game. I don't deny it.
It's laser targeted to you.
Yeah, laser targeted audience. Let me tell you. You get in the expansion, you get the Sai, the Tenbei Rochen. You also get the Naginata and the Ekubo, which is just a giant orb, if you don't know. So there's that. And then you have the original weapons, which is like the Odachi, the Ari, the Tetsuo, the Otsuchi, the Katana, and the Sarigama. So that's about 10 weapons altogether.
Yeah.
To choose from.
So it sounds like they're all fairly Japanese inspired. It looks like their website shows non-Japanese fighters, though.
No, they're all completely Asian inspired on the card. Even if it doesn't look like it, I promise you they are. But
like it definitely looks like there's some Vikings. Oh well, maybe it's just the game. Maybe it's all their games I'm seeing. Actually, now that I think about it,
yeah, that's probably all their games because you're actually.
I'm on their website. Yeah.
Having the cards, they're all Asian inspired. They had about 3 different artists. We actually talked with one of the developers, I should say, on it and whatnot. They did have 3 different artists who all had very different styles, but looking through the cards themselves, they're all very Asian themed in some shape or form.
Cool.
But you have everything.
I'm interested that they keep calling it Tetsubo and not Kanabo, because usually you'll see people calling them Kanabo.
You know, I didn't really bother with that because I mean, it is what it is.
Semantics.
Yeah, no, it's like at the end of the day.
Right? No. It's just I find it interesting.
Yeah. You just like it so much because it's a dueling game meta. Is that the real heart of it?
That's the real reason. You got me, Obs.
Yeah, I know you.
The dueling game. I actually really enjoyed. This was like one of the games that I didn't expect to like as much as I did.
It looks really fun.
It's a lot of fun. I hands down would tell anybody to just grab the game if you can. It's absolutely worth the money. It's very easy to pick up. It is not a very difficult game in any shape or form. It is enough where you can play it a few times and be happy with that. There's tons, and again, this is the biggest thing I want to emphasize on. It's very easy to pick up. You can grab it, play it within like 20 minutes, and then put it away, and you're done. You'll get your board game fix for the day if you need it. There's enough replayability in it because of all the different cards and all the different combinations that you can make with those cards, along with utilizing them with different weapons, that it never really feels like the same game. Even if you have the same set of cards, a new weapon will change how you approach that fight very differently.
It's always good to have little quick fun games too. Sometimes a lot of people don't like playing longer. I mean, especially some board games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if you're taking multiple out like every weekend, that's like you were saying, it's something you went back to the hotel and just played a few rounds every night and got to have fun and play quick stuff.
Or even if you're doing like a full game of them, like having some quicker in between games is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like that's what we use Boss Monsters for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Boss Monsters is a good game for that.
Yeah, Boss Monsters is a great game. It's very quick. Well, I've had long games of that one, but I play with a really
depends on how many people you play with.
Yeah, that's the big. The more people always just increase.
Playing with like 3 people, you can chug through.
You can go through the game for fast. You can buy. Here's the fun part about this that I actually thought was pretty funny. If you buy a second box, you can actually play a variant for 4 players. It's actually a 4-player game. Yeah. You play on teams. There are new mechanics for playing on a team that both base around techniques and the schools that they belong to. It turns out that if you and your friend both use techniques at the same school, it will give you bonuses. So you kind of actually want to not only build around their weapon that you're going to utilize, but you want to build around your buddy's hand as well, so that you can all get the benefit for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I will say this: the downside to the 4-player variant is that you're still technically playing across from the dude of you. You can't all gang up on one guy. You're still facing the guy in front of you, which they talk. We actually asked about this, and they simply said that because essentially the game would become a very fast game. It's really not possible to survive versus 2 people. The game is already designed that you die to 1 person. So having 2 people on you it's going to make it nigh impossible. Plus with the instant kill marker.
So it's mostly the multiplayer aspect comes into the draft, I would assume more.
Yeah, the multiplayer aspect really
playing.
falls into the draft. Yeah. You can also play around the idea that one of the players plays a very defensive style while you play a more offensive one, so that they're never really a problem, and that
I guess
let the other player do it.
How does it deal with? Do you choose who fights who after or before you draft? I guess that would be a big deal.
I would probably be before, but I don't think the rules ever truly specify.
Like randomizing it would, I guess, could end up being interesting, but
let me see here real fast.
Or
I have the rules right in front of me. Let's check it out.
I'm also curious how it handles like if you take out your opponent, like, and then, well, never mind.
Honestly, there doesn't seem to be any timing that you choose your opponent, so that's really up to you. What you want. They just say sit next to your ally and sit across from the man that you're trying to murder. So, that's really all there is to it. So you can decide how you want to determine that. That's really up to you. There's no, it's just a variant rule. So I'm sure they were just trying to create something for the fun of it.
I see.
I would love to play actually a 4-player because I think that would be really fun to try out. But yeah, you could definitely have a build where somebody tries to play defensively and then they just try to keep in tandem with cards with you of the same school so that you can get the bonuses for it. Yeah, it's a fun game. I absolutely do recommend it to everybody to play it. Again, it's not a very complex game. If you care about numbers at all and reviews, then let me bring you the review of it on Board Game Geek, where everybody can trust
the number one board game website.
The number one board game, yeah, pretty much. Board Game Geek gives it a 7.7. It is, I would say, very much worthy of that score. The weight and complexity out of a 5 range. If you don't know what this means, the weight of it just means like how hard is it to get in the game, how hard is it to learn, how much time do you have to spend in it. It's a 1.75, which essentially just means that it's very easy to pick up. It's very easy to play. It's made for ages 8 and up. It's a lot of fun. So that is the game I absolutely love. I have not had a chance to touch a lot of the other games yet, but I plan to get to them and talk about them soon.
Did you do a lot of other stuff at Gencon? I mean, just like in general,
what about that butterscotch pie meta?
Oh my god!
Was that one of the best parts of Gencon?
Oh god, that was a good.
It was really good.
So jelly of that butterscotch pie. Just
the lobster bisque.
That you got the you did get the lobster bisque. I didn't know if you got it or not.
It was actually my favorite part of the meal.
That was
unironically.
So good.
St. Elmo was very good.
Immensely impressed by that. St. Elmo's lobster bisque. Please keep serving that St. Elmo.
It's where all the Magic pros go to eat when they're in Indy.
Is it
St.
seriously?
Elmo, so yeah.
That's sweet.
They all meme. I think Marshall memes and gets the shrimp cocktail every time or something.
That's hilarious. I went around. I didn't do as much as I normally do. There was not a lot of I think the only time I ever did events was the L5R, like the AAG supported L5R events and whatnot. Card game was obviously before my time, and the new card game I have mixed feelings on it. But yeah, I do remember those. The AG L5R ones were really fun. I loved doing those. Those were
you guys didn't even do big board game night this year, did you?
No, I skipped a big board. I don't like how they're doing big game board night.
Everyone else did it.
They did. I don't like how they do it. The last couple of years, they've added on games in there that I just don't think are all that interesting. So why am I paying to play games I don't really care about? And then this year, I found out from friends that they actually they literally they kind of assigned you time and table for things. You didn't kind of just go to where you felt would be appropriate, or kind of get you couldn't even potentially get assigned with away from your friends. They would just assign everything for you, and that was the end of it. And I mean, I understand wanting to be organized, but it's probably a little bit too much organization for me for a
keeps
board
getting
game.
Bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it does.
I can see how it might be difficult to organize thousands of people.
It felt like there wasn't as many people, but we were talking about this because they're doing more events not at the convention center now.
Yeah,
like they do a lot at the football stadium and all the hotels around.
Yeah.
A lot. Basically, most of the RPGing is not in the con anymore. It's all in hotels.
The Marriott actually had a whole section on the second floor just blocked off.
Yeah, it's all D&D. They got D&D a lot too. I didn't know they had Call of Cthulhu there. That's the hotel.
On the second floor, if you went by it, there was literally just a whole Call of Cthulhu. It was set up and everything. 3 rooms. It was a big sign in front of it. I'm I did not know there were that many people that wanted to play Call of Cthulhu.
I think the only thing I really I played 13th Age in the convention center, but was Pathfinder was the big one that was in the
first or second
edition and first. Cool. I think they were playing both. I tried to get into to do the demo of second edition, and every time I went, the line was 2.5 hours long. So
I've still got fixed feelings on Pathfinder 2, but if I ever switch over to Pathfinder 2, I think it'll be some time. It's we were actually talking about this. I think it's neat and interesting what they're doing, and I haven't seen the finalized rules. But
I've been looking at some of the finalized rules. They definitely changed a lot from the playtest.
Yeah, I figure they did. It's not like they're going to keep it all.
Yeah, they completely got rid of resonance and.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, that's good. People were not happy about that.
No. They changed. Yeah, numbers got changed. The proficiency numbers got changed around and stuff.
There you go. Go.
They did definitely listened. Whether it was for the better or worse, I can't say, but a lot did change, and I know a lot of people are enjoying it. So,
I just know that with all the books that I have from the first edition, I just don't want to jump into it.
There's no reason for you to.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it yet. It's got
that's not really the target audience.
I'm not the people they're going for.
It's to pick up new people, obviously, that haven't been into one since beginning or whatever.
Yeah, so it's definitely its own beast, and it's there. But
you 3.5 monsters.
What can I say, dude? I just really love.
I love 3.5.
I don't.
I can't deny it.
3.5 is one of the better editions.
It's not even the rules; it's the amount of content.
That's pretty much what it is. The rules. Don't get me wrong. I like the rules of edition and whatnot. It's just the problem is. There's not enough content.
My allegiance lies to whoever prints the most stuff.
Yes.
It's too overwhelming for me.
No, I'm in the same camp.
Fantasy class is the prestige class Frenzied Berserker in 3.5. I love Frenzied Berserker so much, and I want more of that stuff in other games.
But you can play that in 5e, Tets. 5e.
No, you cannot play Frenzied Berserker. You can play Barbarian with Rage. You don't understand the Frenzied Berserker.
You can enter a Frenzied Rage.
Frenzied Berserker is the class you want to play if you want for your companions to kill you quickly.
Yes.
Because you try and kill them, but there are more of them than you.
To be fair, they win. They may have been that character because I also really loved frenzying with Rapier.
Wait, frenzying rapier.
Step.
I can get behind this.
This was back when I was huge into Soul Calibur, and I was trying to make essentially a Raphael character, and so he was rage and frenzy with rapier because Raphael, right? Like the cheese move, the quickie stabby that throws them off the edgy. Yeah, that move.
What else did you do or get at Gen Con, man?
I actually picked up a lot of minis, pre-painted plastic ones, because I want to start building that up slowly. There's a lot more
for
the tabletop games that I do at home. Yeah, and that's pretty much what it's
not any like war games.
Yeah, I got a
Oh god, no, not war games.
I mean, that's all the plastic I bought was war games.
Like the problem is, I could rant on war games. To just dip my toes into that. I actually like war games, like miniature war games, a lot. I think they're very fascinating. I like the idea of strategy and to them and whatnot, but I don't like
too much stuff
mostly out there. I don't like what's mostly out there. I'm not a big fan of Warhammer 40K. I've seen enough of it to at least get all the jokes and the memes about it, because it's saturated the market in anything in war game area. But there's just not a lot of war games out there that really stick to me. The only one I think I enjoyed was to an extent, but even that one I never really truly got into. I just happened to buy
I may or may not have just finished painting some Gear Blitz models, just so that's said.
The only reason I really got into Heavy Gear Blitz was specifically because the mechs in it reminded me of Armored Core mechs, and I just needed that Armored Core feel, and it's there, it exists. It kind of have
BattleTech might be your jam then, man.
I thought so too.
No.
But BattleTech, it's really not.
No.
Yeah. BattleTech is very much plotty, robot-y, where Heavy Gear is the fast-paced, quickie movie. I'm using a lot of the adjectives tonight, apparently.
It's alright, man. I don't blame you. That's what I would do too. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think BattleTech's a really fun game and whatnot. It's really cool. Like, if you ever played Chrome Hounds for Xbox 360,
oh, I love the hell out of
Chrome Hounds was great. I enjoyed that, and those were mostly slow, proddy, robots and whatnot. Enjoyed the crap out of that. But it wasn't what I was looking for. And then you got other games.
Also made by the people who did Armored Core.
Yes, exactly. That's the funniest part.
Let me spin you some yarns about my Gen Con.
All right, what did you do?
What did you do?
Not a lot.
Well, that was a good.
I'm an old man. In previous years, I would hang out with friends and stuff till like 1 o'clock in the morning. I think this year I was in bed by 11 at least every night because I'm getting old. I didn't do a lot. I didn't do a whole bunch of events. I spent a lot of time in the dealer hall. I cosplayed one day, so I did a lot of walking around. But Thursday, speaking of war games, miniature games, I played in the A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures tournament, or at least one of the grinders. I believe there was 4. I could be wrong. Song of Ice and Fire is the name of the book series, but more colloquially known as Game of Thrones. Based on that, one of the problems the game has is it didn't have a lot of factions at launch. There's only 4 right now, and like a neutral faction that you can build an army out of, but it's not super
Fantasy
great.
Flight 2, right?
Asmodee has the distribution rights. It's still made by Command Games. I think Asmodee just distributes it, and Asmodee owns Fantasy Flight, so it's not technically Fantasy Flight, but it's a tray-based miniature game, so you have units, mostly 12 minis on it. Those are what you
can
use
play
for
the game
wins.
with squares. Basically,
you could just have trays if you wanted to play and proxy and stuff. So it was a 40-point tournament. I was playing a faction.
Is that a lot or a little?
That's like the mid-sized. You play on a 4x4 table.
I'm used to Warhammer, where that would have been like a unit.
Yeah, where it's like
a model.
It's like I've got like 50 things. Here we go.
Oh.
And I ended up rolling, or the random ones. The TO picked the different game modes. All ones I didn't play or never played before, because I'd only played like 4 games up to that. I was playing the Night's Watch, who were all black, so painting them was fun before Gen Con, because painting black is, if you paint, it's a pain in the ass. Or at least to get it to look halfway decent. So I had a lot of fun in that. I went 2-1. I actually made it to the second day. So I technically got top 16 at the Gencon Championship, but I didn't play on the second day because I had other stuff. That was my role-playing day, so that I didn't get to do a lot of role-playing in. I got stories about that. I'm not happy with the way Adventures League handled their business, really.
Really? What happened?
Yeah. So apparently, I showed up for 10 o'clock on Saturday to play with my buddy who I went up to Gen Con with. We're going to play D&D together, just, level 1 stuff, whatever. We had tickets for it, and they'd apparently, just overbooked or something, and, they let people with generics ahead of us and stuff like that, instead of, it. And then they wouldn't let us sit down. I was like, okay. I was like, well, we'll go play, whatever. It's not a big deal. We're only out $2 or whatever. He wanted to run his stuff back to the hotel room. I was like, we'll just go play Pathfinder 2E, play test it. He goes off, and then they start letting other people in there. And I was like, hey, what about us? We were trying to get in. And then the lady told me, well, we're full again. And it's just like, okay, well, whatever. Screw you guys. So, yeah, basically twice we didn't get to play. So then we were like, whatever, we'll just go, we'll play test Pathfinder. The line for that was extremely long, and we both had RPG events later, so we didn't get to do that. And we didn't show up right at 10 o'clock on Sunday to play test it before Gen Con closed down. So, yeah, I had to go. I went and played 13th Age, which is really fun storytelling D&D inspired game. I think it's the guys who did 3rd and 4th edition who designed it. Matthew Tweet, is that the guy's name?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's very much a storytelling game. It has a lot of the similar classes of.
Sorry, what was the name exactly?
13th Age.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've heard of
it.
that.
Yeah, it has a lot of the same classes as D&D.
Yep.
With kind of a 4E power thing, but it's more about. You got daily powers and encounter powers and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's less bloat of them. And it's more. It's each class has a distinct feel? Is that? Yeah. So
because that's I think the main problem with 4th is that a lot of classes just end up feeling samey.
Yeah. We had one of the big things is that you have one unique thing.
Jonathan Tweet.
Yeah, there you go. Your one unique thing is basically the thing that sets you apart from everyone else in the world. So it could range from. The intent is not to be mechanical or give you some kind of advantage. It's more of a role playing thing again because they're going for more storytelling than the get gear, play with miniatures kind of thing.
The focus is far more on crafting a tale. There's more. There's less, I want to say, material substance and more narrative substance.
Yeah, because you also have icon relationships. 13th Age gets its name from 13 different icons who are basically powerful beings in the world. When you create a character, you get 3 dice that you put one of the D6s in with one of the icons in a positive way, a neutral way, or a negative way. At the beginning of every session, you roll those D6, and if you get a 5 or a 6, then somehow they will influence the game, and they will appear in that session and influence it. So,
but that's all left up to the GM and how they do it, right?
Exactly. So, for instance, I picked up the fighter because that's what was left.
Yep.
My one unique thing was that I was I believed I was the hero of a prophecy in which I was actually the villain, was my one unique thing. So I had
Are these just all you have to come up with, or is there a table?
I mean, there's example ones you can pick, but you kind of come up with them on your own. So I had one positive dice with the Emperor, which I didn't roll anything on, but I had a conflicted relationship, 2 dice with the Lich King, because the idea was the Lich King was pulling the strings behind the scenes. And I rolled 2 5s with him, so he showed up twice. So he was whispering kind of like hints at what to do in my ear, and he also gave me a magic weapon to use for the adventure. So that's how like it
he
can
just
come
dropped
into play.
off a fucking magic weapon.
Yeah, one of his like undead like minions disguised came and like said, "Your patron blesses you. Here you go." And I got a bloodthirsty axe.
You want this really cool sword, kid?
Yeah, so the fighter plays very similarly in that he's very tanky. You want to engage with enemies. It's hard for enemies to disengage with you. You have to make a check or a save, and all that means in 13th Age is rolling an 11 plus on a d20. So you have to make a save to disengage. So enemies take -3. You get lots of effects if you miss. You still do damage. And the fighter can get like temporary hit points when they miss, or expand their critical threat range until the next time they crit. So it's got lots of cool things. Even though you're missing, you're still contributing. There's lots of cool classes. Like since the last time I played, they come out with a new Splat book that added like 6 or 7 classes. And they have a commander class, which is very similar to the warlord, who every time they hit with a weapon, they get command points that they can use to make you reroll saves, reroll attack rolls, make move actions, heal. You can spend like a recovery to heal. So lots of cool stuff. I like the game a lot. And the other thing I did was play the Final Fantasy card game, which was pretty fun. I might actually
really branching out on your.
I know, right? me and Meta, we stick to what we love. We're creatures of habit. He loves his Bushido. I love my Final Fantasy. They didn't have a Noctis deck though, or I would have got that Noctis deck. So the Final Fantasy trading card game is a lot like Magic, but kind of different. It plays very similarly. Where you put into play.
I saw numbers in the thousands, and that just makes my eyes glaze over.
Yeah, they want their big HP numbers. It's a lot less interesting and more simplified. There's like a vigilance mechanic. Haste is haste. Like a lot of the main keywords are in the game.
It's hard to get as complex as Magic, who's been doing it for how long?
Yeah,
been able to or has how many employees now?
Mm-hmm. So you have forward characters who are generally your main characters from the games. And you kind of build your deck around elements, which are kind of like spoofs of the color wheel, but there's like 3 more colors. They kind of like branch them up a little bit more. Like water is very like card draw based, whereas ice is more the like tap your creature, like their creatures and stuff. Fire is like do direct damage to their forwards, which is what they call their creatures, basically. Lightning element is all about haste creatures, so very aggressive. Wind is also about that, but I think it has some like destruction too. It's kind of weird. It's like a hodgepodge. And then light and dark they're almost like neutral kind of, but their thing is you can only have one light character in play and one dark character in play is the idea. And they're usually like some of the main characters. Like I think I bought the Final Fantasy 9 deck and Zidane is a dark character, weirdly enough. But so yeah, you get forwards into play. There are also other characters that you can put into play, and they are resources, and they'll have abilities you can tap to do like you can like destroy him to like put a forward in your discard pile into your hand. So and those are based off of I think it's cute. They're based off the Final Fantasy 3 job classes. So a lot of them are like ninja and dragoon and sage and stuff like that. And some of them are forwards. And you don't have toughness and power. Just your number is like your toughness and power in Magic. There's also multiple attack phases. You can attack with one guy, and then attack with your other guy, and then attack with your other guy. Or you can band them together, but defenders can't band together. So it very much rewards being aggressive. If 7 attacks get through, basically, that's how you lose the game. You take 7 damage. And every time you take a damage, you discard the top card of your deck face up. And if it has a EX break on it, it triggers some effect, which I played a fire deck, so it was lots of like sweepers and direct damage stuff and destroying forwards and that kind of thing. So very much like Magic. I enjoyed it a lot. I might look into the meta, and it might be something I like just because no one plays it out here. I enjoyed it enough to where I'd go play it at Gen Con. I'd play a grinder of it, so it was fun. And that was really all I did other than go get food and just hang out with a few different friends. I didn't really do a lot event-wise. And my buddy on the way back was talking to me about it. Because he had a blast. He played a lot of Battletech and War Machine and all that. And got to go play Shadowrun a lot and stuff.
Oh yeah, new Shadowrun's out, right?
It is. It is. One of the guys I roomed with is like super obsessed with it. So he was all about playing it.
This is coming out with a new version.
Yep, I think it came out at Gen Con.
Yeah, I think so.
But so yeah, he was talking about how much fun he had. I was like, this is actually probably the least fun I had. Not that I didn't have fun,
right?
But it's kind of different. It's been a bummer since L5R's gone away. I mean, the old 5R's gone away.
Yeah,
because that was a lot of Gen Con for me. It was going and playing L5R card game and the role playing game, which I did pick up a copy of the new book, and I think Spooky talked me into it, and I was like, I'm going to see if there's stuff I can harp, and I've been reading through it this week, and they've actually fixed some of the stuff that I had issues with. Some of the stuff I still have issues with, though. I'm trying to convince my local play group when we start our L5R game to try it out and see if we like it. If not, we can switch back to 4E. And I will report back with my new thoughts afterwards, but I have warmed up to it a little bit.
I love how negatively you initially said that. They fixed some things that I hated. You wanted it
particularly the unmasking and compromising thing. Now that it's not immediate, you just have to do it before the scene ends. So we were talking with Spooky about this when we went to St. Elmo's, and one thing, an example meta used that I like just to demonstrate how it works. Now, say you're in a court scene, your character builds up strife because of what's happening. In the beta version, you would immediately lose face in front of everybody and react emotionally. Now you just have to do it before the scene ends. So you can and some courtiers might get a chance to go notice that something's wrong with them, but it's not completely obvious to everyone like it was before. You're not challenging your daimyo to a duel or punching the nearest courther.
Challenge to a duel.
You're not throwing the Mia out the window or bursting into tears.
You could pass it off as
you go, excuse me, I need to get some air on the balcony, and you go outside and have a private moment, and then you punch the shoji screen while no one's looking, or you cry while no one's seeing you. So
could it be the daimyo pissed you off, so then you wait and bide your time and then blame it on the Bayushi? Badly, of course.
Yeah,
of course. But I mean, that was a big thing that I felt was a really good change as well, because it just really felt weird that you would just suddenly have to deal with that in the moment. I'm like, that's not really realistic to how an actual person might be.
I think they've changed some of the stances, how they work slightly. Some of the kata seem a little bit better too.
Do they still have it where freaking people samurai can still perform Bushi can perform rituals? Is that still
some can? Some get access to rituals.
But why? I think rituals are sometimes it's just
they're not necessarily they're not necessarily magical all the time. So the line, I think the line get access to some that involve their ancestors,
right? Which I mean,
which makes sense. Some get access, Mao said, the tea ceremony.
The tea ceremony
it's a ritual now that helps you recover strife and feel good about yourself.
Yeah, and then there was there's some ritual tied to the matchmaker stuff I saw briefly. So they're not necessarily just magic rituals. Some
stuff that is just a ritualistic thing that samurai do, you could just get as rituals. So I think there's some poetry ones too. I could be wrong. I haven't read them all yet. That's a very big chunk of the book. Is the techniques.
It's not that it's magical. It's just something spiritual.
Which I actually like. I think.
Flavor wise, it's cool. It's fine. Some of the shuji are cool. I think they're neat because it lets courtiers do a few things in battle, because some of them have applications in battle. Like, you could tell the guy to halt, and he might halt and get, like, dazed for a round or something.
Yeah.
And I think most shouting is, like, from a range band of 0 to 4. So you can be way in the back, like, screaming at people so you don't get, like, stabbed with a katana. You know.
Way in the back. You're doing great!
It'll take them a very, like, large fitness roll to get over to you. And they're probably going to want to enter water stance, because I think that's the one that helps you. It gives you, like, an extra action to do something that's not a check, so you can use it to, like, move a range.
Stance that has water flowing would give you movement? You trying to
tell me
it's fluid stance? Ah,
it fits. But anyways, yeah, I'll report back with that. That was pretty much my Gen Con. I ate a lot of good food. I got sick because I ate good food because I changed my diet. I came back and went back on diet. Now I'm sick again. And here we are.
Woo!
It's contributed to this whirlwinds of the week. So Gen Con was fun. The existential crisis is still here. It's not left. I want to go back.
It'll never leave again.
I know.